Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from mama_mushi_1996, AITA for ending my 9-year relationship. Because my boyfriend refused to have intimacy and because he is struggling with depression. I'm a 28F and my boyfriend is 31M. We've been in an on and off long-distance relationship for 9 years, but I moved 900 miles to be with him permanently about 6 to 7 months ago. This is something he said adamantly needed to happen, or we would not be able to continue our relationship. We had been physically seeing each other for about a week at a time prior to me moving here. Since moving here, we've only had sex twice, both within the first couple of months. He claims the lack of sex is because we're not ready for a baby, which I agreed with. So I bought condoms to address that concern. Since I bought them, he has purposely chosen to not stay the night a single time, which makes me feel like the pregnancy excuse was just a way to avoid intimacy altogether. On top of that, the lack of physical intimacy has caused a huge emotional disconnect for me. I tried to rationalize it by telling myself that we have found a safe system where I can playfully ask him to touch me or go down on me since he doesn't like to be touched. Recently, I playfully asked if he could go down on me or just touch me like how he always does, but he rejected it. I was shocked because I thought we'd found a compromise that worked for us, especially since he prefers to be the one to initiate intimacy, and I've honored that. I asked if he was feeling depressed or if I had done something wrong, but he didn't want to engage in that conversation. Towards the end of the conversation, I was crying. I was not crying because of his refusal to do the act. I was very turned off by this point, obviously. I was crying because of his consistent refusal to engage in any conversation about why we have a lack of intimacy, a lack of time together, or anything at all. I have told him that I think we may be sexually and emotionally incompatible, and he told me that we are not. He is physically attracted to me. He gets visibly aroused at the sight of me and ejaculates when he goes down on me. I thought maybe depression would play some kind of role. IDK. I moved 3 states across the country for someone who only makes time to see me for a couple of hours per week, if that. He was spending the night once a week from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but that also stopped. This relationship already felt like it was hanging by a thread, and when I started crying during this conversation, he responded in an irritated tone, asking, "What are you crying for?" and then left. A lot of times I purposely hold in tears or emotion so that I don't make him stop engaging. The lack of intimacy and connection isn't just about, it's about effort, communication, and respect. I've been patient. I've tried to have open conversations, but they usually turn into him twisting my words or denying things he's said or done. I've suggested therapy multiple times to work through this, but he refuses to go. I feel terrible that I ended it because I love him, and after 9 years of this on and off cycle, I wonder if I'm being clouded by emotion. I asked him to go to therapy for the last time, and told him that the relationship would honestly just have to end if he won't go, because I don't see any way to salvage it, and he said might be for the best. I'm not going to therapy. He even stated that it doesn't make him uncomfortable, he just doesn't want to go. He hasn't talked to me since I ended it. His motto is that if I want to leave, then leave because he is not fighting for someone who is leaving, but he has never fought for me so. I can't move back home because I signed a contract with my employer for 4 years. I want to start dating when I am ready. But I honestly feel numb. It feels like I don't even exist in this reality right now, and I don't know how to not see the red flags in every single person I talk to. OP is not the AH. She invested years in a one-sided relationship with no emotional or physical effort from her boyfriend. His refusal to communicate, compromise, or seek help made the relationship unsustainable. Ending it was necessary for her well-being. As for OP's boyfriend, he is an AH for making no effort in the relationship, and I would rate him 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump onto the next story from random_li_. Forced the ex to take the kids when I was sick, and all hell broke loose. Okay, to start with, know that I detest my ex and his girlfriend. He has narc tendencies, was abusive emotionally, mentally, and financially, and I threw him out for cheating and continued drug use. He lied about being sober for years but was still disappearing at random to use meth and coke when our twin girls were 10 months old, the final straw being him giving us all the vid in late 2020. because he had to meet with his fans. He is by no means famous, but is somewhat known, without masks and all that. I have our girls 95% of the time, with him having visitation 2 hours a few days during the week and 2 overnights a month. He demanded in court he get weekends from Saturday early morning until Monday, but now refuses to anything other than Saturday morning till Sunday afternoon. And I am their primary caregiver and parent. My girls are also neurodivergent, with one being non-speaking autistic and the other ADHD, both having ARFID. So they are not easy. I get an average of 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night because my autistic daughter has major sleep issues, and my body is just not at all healthy after 5 years of this routine. He also has a live-in girlfriend who is much older. People think she's his mom, but they always have 2 adults to 2 kids, and I always have just me. Now to the point of the post, I currently am sick AF with strep throat. Fever that won't go down with meds, swollen uvula, the hanging ball in the back of your throat, that's so big I can barely swallow and have trouble breathing, and just feel awful. I started to feel off Sunday, knew I was sick Monday, and begged him to take them overnight. He was gone the last 2 weekends and half of the weekdays, so he did take them to make up for that. This morning, I went to the doctor, confirmed strep, got a steroid shot to hopefully reduce the swelling in my throat, and antibiotics. I will still be contagious until tomorrow, when I've been on antibiotics for 24 hours, which will be around 2 p.m. I was at the pharmacy waiting for my prescriptions, and the girlfriend starts texting me that Dad told me she was bringing them home now. He never did. She swears I'm lying, to which I reply, "No, I won't be home for an hour until I get my medicine." She replied that I had some gall because I was told they were coming, and she was late for work, and he had work, so I needed to take the kids back. He literally podcasts from home. It is doable to set the girls up in the other room and record. It will take a little more editing, but can definitely be done. He will also zoom into other podcasts from home, so even if it's someone else's pod, he doesn't have to leave the house. I don't know what she does. They're very shady and keep me out of any details because of illegal tax and all that they've been pulling for years. Our child support, which he does pay for us to fully live, because I can't work with my special needs kids, and him not wanting to be reliable with his visitation, is paid by his business, so it's tax evasion, for example. So I don't know what's going on over there ever, unless my 4-year-old tells me. I may have gotten pretty pissed, because the reason I don't want to take them home is I'm still very contagious. And if there's a chance we can avoid the girls catching this, it's worth trying. My nonverbal daughter can't tell me what's wrong, and if she gets sick, it's so hard to get her better, especially with a sore throat, because she will 100% stop eating and drinking, which scares me badly. I feel awful, but if I knew I wasn't contagious anymore, I would just lay in bed with them and have them home. But I think the risk is just too great, especially with the holidays. I may have also gone off a bit saying that he's fine with acting like a dad, as long as nobody knows about it, so he can still tell people how his kids are his life and let them believe he has 50/50 custody and how their time matters, but my health doesn't. How people who do what he does, that are 10 times more famous and do more projects, have time for their kids, for real and not just for show. That she's a horrible person demanding my girls come back into an apartment we know is swimming with strep germs for their convenience, but she wants to play mom to his kids when she wants. I have dealt with years of this attitude. When I had kidney stones, I called an ambulance and didn't end up going to the ER in the middle of the night on it, because I was worried about traumatizing my girls, who would have had to be woken up at 2 a.m. and thrown in an ambulance with their screaming mother, so I had to wait until he turned on his phone at 10 a.m., have him get the kids and go to the ER, only to have him text me every 20 minutes while I was on morphine, asking when I was coming to get them, because he had things to do. He is not a normal person, so why do I expect human behavior from him or his codependent psycho old lady girlfriend? Sometimes they just get the best of me, and then I feel like a jerk. Even though they tend to earn the things I say that are mean, they're always reality. Am I insane for demanding they keep the kids? I'm so worried about how they'd handle strep, even though they were exposed to me when I first started symptoms. What would you do? I'm probably a jerk for the things I said, but I honestly can't understand how someone cares that little for their own kids' well-being. This also comes after he barely helped out when I had walking pneumonia a month ago, so I couldn't rest to get better and spent over 2 weeks getting lightheaded when I would talk. I just need to hear some perspectives of people who aren't my personal friends, Because after so long, I just feel insane from the sleep deprivation alone, and they know all the horrible shit he's done. I'm not perfect. I give it back and run my mouth, but I'm a good mom and bust my ass for those girls to be happy, healthy, and well cared for. And always take my side, of course. Update. It has hit the fan. Well, things went pretty freaking wild today. I told them I wasn't comfortable taking the girls back into a germ-filled environment and agreed to pick them up after the one who is still in school. Public school is on break, so I grabbed her and went to get her sister at Dad's house. I get there and he's podcasting, so I have to deal with the girlfriend. She claimed to have no idea about my daughter's rash, which I have in writing telling them about, and that she couldn't have known when she had little sores on her vulva you can't miss. When I told her that their dad just said he tried to treat it, but couldn't I tell her that? And she did an about-face, saying, oh well, we tried to do it. Not our fault, it didn't work. What happened to? I had no idea there was a rash. I had her check the car for some missing toys while we waited in our car, and this crazy girlfriend comes over and leans into my car window a few inches from my face. I'm autistic and wildly uncomfortable around her more than anyone else. So I asked, can you please back up? This is making me uncomfortable. She stood up and started in on me. Well, you have some gall. I'm not allowed to be near you? What? What am I going to do? You're the problem. And she leans into my window again, a few inches from my face. I said, again, I just said this makes me super uncomfortable, please back up, more forcefully, but not even raising my voice. So, she balls up a piece of paper and throws it at me. I pick it up and throw it back, and that's when she lost her mind. She reached through my car window, grabbing my arm, digging her nails into my skin, and twisting while calling me names, saying our child support is me taking advantage of them and being a user, that I'm insane, and then, get this. She leans into the car with a psychotic smile on her face, looks at my not even 5-year-old and says, hey, kid's name, mommy is crazy, isn't she? You kidding me? So, I lost it. I started screaming at her like she was at me, and threw my car in to drive to leave, when she starts darting around in the road, wanting me to hit her or something. I spun the car around and told her that she's evil. Her boyfriend won't touch her because she's old and disgusting, and they deserve each other, like they deserve to drop dead. And we drove home. I waited on hold with police for an hour and had them come by to file a report for battery. They said they were shocked. The marks she left on my were still visible after 3 hours, and I showed them pictures and video I took right after it happened to lock down the time it happened, because she will claim I did it to myself, or they will do something to her to make it look like I did. I didn't touch her because I don't touch gutter trash, and she's no exception. My only part was words. The police said I should go to the courthouse in the morning and file a restraining order with the battery report number, and that's what I plan on doing. This will create a show. They live together, so she will not be allowed to be home when the girls are with their dad, or be around them at all, because RAs in situations like this extend to the children. I know they'll have her be there anyway, and you'd better believe that I will call the police to go check and arrest her if she breaks the orders. It has been years of these people walking all over me and making it so I can't work, but then also faulting me for needing his money to feed the kids. They are truly bad people. And while our court orders including me not being able to talk about him publicly, they do not cover her. So I have put my side of the story out there and to all my friends, because I am done playing with these people. If anyone has been thought his, let me know. We will now be going by the orders to the letter, or he can take me back to court. He has to keep paying us, so that's good. I have just been pushed and lived in literal fear for my life for years, when he had access to our home, and a love of both meth and guns. I'm done being walked all over by toxic lunatics. OP is not the AH. She is a struggling single mom prioritizing her children's well-being while dealing with an irresponsible ex and his hostile girlfriend. The ex's neglect and the girlfriend's aggression justify OP's frustration and actions, especially seeking legal protection. Not OP, rather OPX and his GF are AHs, and I would rate them 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump onto the next story from zealous_ideal_cry, 2875. AITA for feeling resentment toward my fiancé because of his mom? I, 24F, have been with my fiancé, 27M, for 6 years, and we've been engaged for 1 year. We met when I was 18 and he was 21, and he's truly my love. He's smart, level-headed, kind, and forgiving. Everything I admire. However, I've been struggling internally with resentment due to past events toward his mom. It started with small boundary issues early in our relationship. His mom would intrude on our privacy by probing into private conversations or receiving private information from my fiancé. While I understood that people sometimes share things with their parents, it made me uncomfortable, especially since I'm a very private person. I usually kept the peace by politely deflecting or obliging to the conversation, but I did tell my fiancé he needed to establish boundaries. Fast forward to December 2023, when he proposed. The proposal itself was beautiful, but one thing I had always emphasized was wanting that moment to be private, just between us. However, as soon as he popped the question, both sets of parents surprised us by showing up. While I appreciated their excitement, it felt overwhelming. His parents, spent the entire day with us, even following us to our hotel room, where I finally excused myself to take a shower just to get them to leave. I wasn't upset, just drained, and once again felt that boundaries were an issue. Then came the most stressful year of my life, wedding planning. I've always dreamed of my wedding day, and my fiancé and I decided on a tropical destination. A dream for me. But his mom immediately voiced her disapproval, sending us news articles about the dangers of traveling to the destination, and even saying she and the rest of their family wouldn't attend if we went through with it. My fiancé tried to stay positive, but her constant complaints took a toll on him, totally understandable. We suggested a family trip to visit the venue and reassure her, but nothing worked. Her tangents continued for months. Phone calls, text, etc. And I told my fiancé we needed to set firm boundaries. He tried, but the issue kept resurfacing. Things came to a head during a visit from his parents during summer. Just before they arrived, I found out my grandfather had passed away, and shortly after, my sister experienced a traumatic incident. I was overwhelmed with grief and stress, often stepping away to process everything and support my sister. Instead of understanding, his mom criticized me for not being happy or normal or mad at her during their visit. My fiancé didn't fill them in on what I was going through, and I felt scrutinized and judged. Toward the end of their trip, my fiancé confronted me, saying my mood was ruining the visit for him and his family. That conversation shattered me. I felt unsupported and like he was siding with them instead of trying to understand my pain. He later apologized and looped his parents in, but they didn't offer any sympathy, not even a simple, "I'm sorry for your loss." It hurt deeply because I've always gone out of my way to support his family during tough times, whether through calls, flowers, or gestures of kindness. The final straw was the wedding dress incident. His mom went out and bought a mother-of-the-bride-groom dress for our wedding without even looping me in. For months we had talked about going dress shopping together, and I was excited to include her in the planning. I know it sounds so small to complain about, but it drove me mad. I felt hurt that after all our planning and conversations, she just went ahead and did it. When I expressed my frustration, she claimed she'd never heard of a wedding color scheme, or that she didn't hear anything from me on what to do, so she just bought one. My fiancé avoided holding her accountable, and the situation was only resolved when the dress was returned. Again, at this point, I was too tired to care. It just felt like another jab. Now, it's December 2024. The wedding date has been pushed back, and the venue has changed due to unrelated issues. But suddenly, his mom is enthusiastic about the wedding again. Despite wanting to move forward and improve my relationship with her, I can't shake the resentment I feel toward both my fiancé and his mom. I don't trust them to respect my boundaries, and I don't feel like my feelings have been prioritized. I love him deeply, but this past year has been emotionally exhausting. I will be honest, I have not directly talked to her about setting boundaries, but I have talked to her since everything has happened. I've talked to my mother and sister about this, but I feel so embarrassed bringing it up, even though it continues to bother me. I know I'm upset about it, and honestly, couples therapy is my next step. I want to move forward, but I feel like maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. So, AITA for feeling this way? OP is not an AH for standing up for her boundaries, and OP feelings are valid. It is her fiancé's mom who has repeatedly disrespected her boundaries, and OP's fiancé hasn't consistently defended her. Her frustration stems from being unsupported, not unreasonable demands. Couples therapy is a good next step to address these ongoing issues before marriage. As for scores, I would rate OP 0, OP's fiance's mom 3.5, and OP's fiance 3 out of 5 on the scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Throw Ray Pineapple. AITA for dating my 22M best friend's crush after telling me he lost feelings for her 20F, which later on was a lie. So 4 years ago, my best friend 22M, let's call him Josh, introduced me to his friend group of 3 girls, which included a close friend of his, who's my current GF 20F, let's call her Anna. We always hung out as a group, so we didn't talk that much until almost a year after, where me and Anna started talking a lot, got to know each other more. She's an amazing person, emotionally intelligent, kind-hearted, and a very loving person. So, this is where I caught feelings for her, and you can call her my first love. A year went by. She started ghosting me out of the blue, not responding much, or dry responding, going out as a group without inviting me or mentioning going out. Keep in mind, me and my best friend, Josh, still go out solo and are on good terms. It was just the group thing. So I ignored it and moved on and slipped away from the group. At the same time of the group, uninviting me from the go-outs, Josh confessed to me that he had feelings for Anna, my current GF, and it was clear how much he loved her. So I decided to keep whatever feelings I had towards her a secret and let it die with time, as me and Anna didn't even talk, so it was easy moving on. Long story short, she didn't feel the same way about him. He kept convincing her about his feelings until she felt trapped and not being able to chat with him, and they had a huge fight where it ended on bad terms. 2 years later, which is a year ago, Anna's father died. I texted her and gave my condolences, and we got back to chatting a little after that. Meanwhile, I got to know another girl, 20F, let's call her Olivia, which is a mutual friend between me and Josh BTW. Me and Olivia stayed friends for 5 months, until we both confessed to each other that we love each other, and stayed in a situationship for a month because of her not committing or feeling that she's embarrassed of dating me, and me being irritated by her constantly texting and FaceTiming Josh, and saw a TikTok he sent her of a couple kissing each other as a joke. Problems got bigger, so I decided to end it there, as I didn't want to lose Josh or Olivia, and stay as friends until we solved whatever problems we had. She started slipping away, had more arguments, and some on and offs for another month. I wanted to keep her, and I texted her daily for another week, where she didn't reply or replied with Ty or K. And when I stopped texting first, she never texted back, so it kind of ended on bad terms. This is where me and Anna started talking again frequently, and got way closer than before. That's when all the feelings came rushing back, and again, I kept it a secret until she confessed after a month that she had feelings from way back, for almost 3 years, and that she ghosted me as a coping mechanism, because she assumed I didn't feel the same way about her. I confessed that I did have the same feelings to her, but it's complicated now as she was, and still my best friend's crush. I asked her if I could tell him all of that, as he deserves to know, for which she approved, and I sat with him and told him about it all from the beginning. He was very understanding, which later on was a lie, and told me to give it a try with her, which I declined as I just got out of the situationship, for which he replied, she, Olivia, won't know, and also because of how he felt towards Anna, he tapped my shoulder and told me he lost feelings towards Anna, which also later on was a lie, and it's all good, I love you both as my friends. A few weeks went by. Josh started ghosting me. Olivia ghosted me too. Also, Josh went and told Olivia the next day that me and Anna are dating, where I was presented as the bad guy. I felt unappreciated by the 2 people I cared about their feelings, while ignoring the one that actually loves me, and I love. So I explained to Anna that it's complicated to me, but I do love her, and we started dating. As I mentioned before, she's the best. She's respectful, loving, caring, and she's the best person I could ever ask for. Of course, it's not all butterflies, but all the problems we meet are solved simply by saying sorry and talking it out. Other than that, everything is fine, if not perfect. And I do believe she's my actual soulmate and the love of my life. For the past year of me and Anna dating, I kept and still feel bad and guilty about Josh. I keep thinking of how bad of a friend I am. The thought never leaves my mind, and every time I hang out with him, I feel like there's a barrier between me and him, and thinking about my future with my girlfriend, or making it official, I always think about how awkward it would be for him, and also for me. My girlfriend does feel bad a bit, but not as bad as me, as they don't talk or see each other anymore. I need help or an opinion from an outer POV about the whole situation. Of me dating Anna or me feeling bad about Josh. TL dear, I'm dating the girl my best friend had a crush on who I dated after him telling me he lost feelings towards her, which later on was a lie, and now I regret it. OP is not an AH here. While the situation is messy, Josh's actions, lying about losing feelings and ghosting, are not OP's fault. OP respected his feelings initially, but he didn't uphold honesty or friendship. So, OP is not an AH for dating after his dishonesty. So, as for scores, I would rate OP 0 and OP's friend 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Cartographer Extra 923. AITA for hooking up with my best friend's cousin? I, 19F, am currently a sophomore in college, but during my junior year of high school, 2021, I was not a very good person. I had no self-respect or care for myself. I smoked every day, lost my 4.0 GPA, and would do things with any guy who gave me the light of day. It wasn't very many guys LOL, but still. Eventually, I lost all of my friends because of some poor decisions I made. I started to hang out with a girl on my soccer team that I knew for a while, but fell off with. She reintroduced me to her close friend, my current best friend who we will call R. We had been friends for a while, but we never really hung out or talked one-on-one unless we were drinking, because R never really smoked. This was all between January and March of 2022. Throughout our second semester, we grew closer but began to fall out with soccer team girl because she got a job and boyfriend who took all her time. He turned out to be toxic, and they're not together anymore. I began to hang out with R every day around May and June of 2022. Her cousin, who we will call W, is in the class below us, 18M. Note, he is so cute to the point where I would have never thought he had any interest in me. I am not the ugliest, but he is way out of my league. Anyways, they had rough childhoods and essentially grew up as siblings. R lived with her grandparents, and W would come over all the time and sometimes stay the night, but he stayed with R's brother. June of 2022, R, W. R's brother and I hung out together all the time. One day, R's brother had a pen on him, so all of us decided to go to his room to watch a movie with some snacks and have a sleepover, if their grandma allowed it. She said yes, so the night begun. This was the first time I smoked in a while since R doesn't smoke, so it didn't take me much to get up in the clouds. One thing led to another, and next thing you know, we're doing stuff. From what I can remember, which isn't much, he started rubbing my back and went down my back. He cuddled me a little, then started moving my hand towards his body. Yeah, we didn't go all the way, but we did just about everything that comes before it, if you know what I mean. Again, I have little recollection of what happened, but I know he remembered because I asked him about it the next day to make sure I didn't imagine it. I told him I didn't want to talk about it, and to not tell anyone, because my friendship with R was still fairly new, and I didn't want to lose her too. I thought that was the last of it, and it was for a while. I went through my entire senior year of high school without it becoming an issue. I had one class with him, but we never really talked to each other in it. I started to become extremely close with R, and we were essentially inseparable. Her family loves me and invites me to their family and holiday dinners. Atleo eventually got a girlfriend, and they were together for the majority of my senior year, so again, no issues with him. That is until the second semester of my freshman year of college. W and his girlfriend broke up months before this, so he is not cheating. During my second semester, W was still a senior in high school, but took many classes at our local college. I saw him all the time because we had similarly timed schedules, but we never talked. Maybe a wave or a hey, but nothing more. In maybe February of 2024, he texted me on Snapchat. He asked about that night from 2 years ago. I told him, kind of. I know we did stuff, but that's about it. The conversation kept going, and he made a proposal of essentially being sneaky links. I told him that I have changed. I'm not that kind of girl anymore. If I am intimate with anyone, it's going to be with someone I have been dating, and that even if he did want a relationship, I was not in the right headspace for one. Those are the exact points I made and have reinstated multiple times during the conversation because he couldn't seem to understand. He said he didn't want a relationship either because he was leaving for college soon and that we don't have to be all the way intimate. He just wanted me to give him a BJ, basically. Yeah, IK. And to clarify, I 100% clearly rejected his proposal and told him I will not be trying anything of the sort with him. After that, he would only bring it up if he was drunk, which was pretty often. We became kind of friends after that. We would have genuine conversation that didn't involve my mouth, and we agreed on a lot of subjects. Things died down and we were civil until the past summer, 2024. He would throw little parties and kickbacks at his mom's house, and he would invite R, who would then invite me. I made sure to ask if I was invited or if it was okay for me to go, because I didn't want him to feel awkward. He said it was fine, and that he would have a girl there with him anyways, so I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to party. The first couple parties were fun, no issues. He made a move on me at the first one, but it wasn't anything crazy. He just brought it up, and we left it at that. But the last one will be one to remember. I remember this party being a little less entertaining than the last one. There weren't as many people and half of them left before 11:30. R and I always stayed the night at his place on an air mattress in his room to make things easier on us because he lived so far out. Towards the end of the night, I was walking into his room to get my stuff for my nighttime routine, and he stopped at the doorway. He was so drunk and was trying to hold me and kept saying, "Come on," and R is outside. I told him, "No, R is in the other room. I told you already I'm not going to." When I noticed him doing that thing guys do to start a kiss where they lean in, tilt their head, and close their eyes, I backed away and set myself free, making it clear again that I said no. I go to get my stuff back in his room, and as he is asking me, why, his sister comes by, and I ask her, "Do you know where R is?" She turns to the side, and R goes right into the doorway, wide-eyed, jaw dropped, as if she just found out she lost all her money. W is sitting on his bed in silence, and R asks me if I would like to sleep in his sister's room instead, and I said, "Sure, let's go." She walked to the room, and a just start whisper yelling to W. "I told you." He starts trying to talk, and I cut him off to tell him to shut up. He says, "So I can't talk to you anymore." And I said, "No, especially if R never talks to me again because of this." Long story short, R asked me if he tried to kiss me. She was blaming it all on him. I felt guilty and told her about the night 2 years ago. He lied and denied it all. We left the next day. W texted me about what happened and was insinuating he had feelings for me. He said he is never intimate with girls like that and that he is always thinking about us, but I didn't really care. R and I talked, and she was pretty chill about it all. She was disappointed, but she was madder at him than me because he kept trying to lie and deny, and she wasn't having it. I kind of kept contact with him after all of this, and would still snap him, August of 2024. We talked about what happened, and we just snapped after that. But one day, my little sister, who is a junior in high school, came into my room. Her friends are sisters with W's best friend's girlfriend, if that makes sense. W would end up with the girlfriend's house all of the time because he was always with his best friend. Well, the sister said that one night we were very drunk, came into her room, and was trying to do stuff with her. I don't know if they did or not, but the moment she said that I unadded him and deleted his number, my sister's friend would have been a freshman when he was a senior, and that doesn't sit right with me. Now W, R, and I are all chill, and don't talk about that night. AITA? I want honest opinions. I have been feeling really guilty about the situation lately, and can't seem to shake it for some reason. OP is not an AH. She rejected W's advances multiple times, respected boundaries, and was honest with R. However, OP should have communicated sooner and more clearly to avoid confusion. Let's now move on to the next story from Grel-Re0T. AITA for cutting off my BF who enabled my self-destructive behavior during my manic episode. In summer 2022, I cut off my best friend. Didn't even give her a proper explanation, just blocked her. TBH, at the time, I didn't feel like I had to give an explanation, as it was obvious. My ex-best friend and I both have BPD. We clashed a lot as our BPD differed quite a bit. I couldn't stick up for myself, and she always had a problem with me or our other best mate. We were a trio. I also have bipolar, and during a manic episode in April 2022, to be fair, I was undiagnosed at the time. But she had told our other friends she thought there was something wrong with me due to the sheer amount I was drinking, but never said anything to me as it suited her that I was going out. She used me. I was clubbing too much, spending all my money, and am still paying the price today with debts. Her way of coping with her BPD was going out and getting drunk or coked up. When I inevitably crashed, she decided to turn against me as I wasn't going out anymore. I managed to get a bit better mentally, and in August-ish I went to hers. I was still heavily drinking to cope. One night, I got blackout drunk to the point I was sick all over myself, and they had to put me in the bath. I was so hungover the next day, obviously. Now she was the sort of person you couldn't say no to. She had anger issues. If you said no, she would pressure you and get pissy. And she was so unpredictable, she'd try to kill herself over the most random things. I have BPD too, as I said, so I do understand, and I tried to be as understanding as I could to her. A few times we used the wrong tone with her, by total accident, and she would spiral. On the day I was hungover, she said to me, "Why don't we go to this deserted place with a lake that we can chill at?" It was the hottest day of the year. Those of you that live in England understand, the hottest day of the year is awful for us. I did not want to go as I felt really hungover and didn't want to go. I tried to object, but she got stressed, so I agreed. It was me, her, and my boyfriend. We got an Uber to the place, but the Uber dropped us at the wrong point, so we had to walk half an hour. I was like, no way am I doing that, but again, she got aggy. So we just went on with it. Bear in mind we had one small bottle of water and a few cans of Coke. All of our faults, not just her. I should have thought about it and bought more water. We started walking, and after about 10 minutes, I felt faint. I kept having to sit down. Every time I did, she got more and more annoyed. I was scared of her, so I had to get up and carry on. I drank all the water in the first 20 minutes as I felt so dehydrated, like I was going to pass out. We finally got to the place she wanted to go to, and I was a wreck. Slurring speech, my brain was throbbing, my skin felt like fire. I can't even fully describe the feeling because it was the worst thing I've ever gone through. When I was there, I had to lay down in the shade. I couldn't even lift my head up. My boyfriend, bless his soul, was amazing and kept running back and forth to the lake, pouring water on me, and got my t-shirt and wetted it and put it on my head. She just sat there with the hump. She looked like a toddler whose toys had been taken away. She called our other best friend, complaining about me saying I was overreacting and lying. My other best friend swears blind she stood up for me, but I highly doubt that as she was scared of her too. She then came over to me and started screaming at me, calling me a liar, saying I just couldn't be arsed to walk. And then she said, "I'm going to call an ambulance to prove there's nothing wrong." She called the ambulance out of spite, and then we waited 2 hours. Because the place we were was deserted, they couldn't find us, so my boyfriend had to basically walk me over to them. She stormed off with a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp, and we found the paramedics. They had to walk me over to them, but after 5 minutes of walking, I couldn't do it anymore and collapsed. They had to put a drip in me in a dusty, narrow walk path, and I was just crying. She had already stormed off, so didn't see this happen. They took my blood pressure and shit, and said that if I was out any longer, I could have died. Luckily, a bloke with a buggy car thing helped us get back, and when we got back to her, the paramedics actually had a go at her, and was really quite harsh with her, which I was grateful for. I was in hospital for a few hours, and then went to hers to get my stuff. She was extremely apologetic, and I forgave her. After a few days, I needed a break from her. She had justified the whole situation in her head. She probably still thinks I'm a bitch to this day. She was rude, and slagging me off behind my back, whilst being sweetness and light whenever I spoke to her. So, I blocked her. I never spoke to her again. Our other best friend ended up dropping her a few months later too for the fact she treated her like shit. I know I'm better off without her, but I do feel sorry for her as I know she's not all there mentally, like me. So, it's quite a tough one. I know she's mentally ill, but is that really a reason to be able to get away with treating people like shit? And said people making excuses for you every time? Or am I being a bitch? Was I overreacting for cutting her off for this? The reason I post this now after 2 years is because I have been thinking about her a lot. She messaged our other best friend to apologize recently, but not me. It grated me a lot. OP is not the AH. Her ex-friend was abusive, dismissive of OP's health, and toxic in general. Mental illness isn't an excuse for mistreating others. Cutting her off was necessary for OP's well-being. No apology just confirms her lack of remorse. OP's ex-friend is an AH, and I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from Laura22 Lynch. AITA for not wanting to be my mother's guardian. I recently got a document in the mail titled An Alleged Incapacitated Person for My Mom, asking me, did I want to become her guardian? I have been giving it a lot of thought since then, and decided I didn't want to, but I do realize this could be seen as me being self-centered. There is a very real possibility she may wind up in a nursing home if I don't step up. The sad truth is, me and my mom are not friends. Sometimes we barely get along. There have been times she made me so mad I almost cut her off. This is due to us having very different personalities. She also can be self-centered at times and get tunnel vision on herself, not caring that her decisions and words can affect and hurt others. A good example of this is when she left my dad. She randomly one day starting distancing herself from my dad without explanation. After my brother died during 2020, she left him. The problem is my dad was unemployed at the time. He asked her to give him time to find a job so he won't be homeless. But she didn't give him any time and left him fast. Me not wanting my dad to be homeless stepped up and told him he could live with me as long as he needed. He still lives with me to this day, and we are good friends. It wasn't until after my mom left, she said what the problem was. She calmed that we the both of us treated her wrong, and that I talked down to her. The problem is none of us remembers this. We both agree if she have said something sooner, we could have tried to work through the issues. But now with her being miles away and impossible to visit, this wasn't going to happen. I do believe she is making up us treating her wrong in her head, but I do realize you can accidentally hurt someone without realizing it. So, I have apologized to her and have remained in contact. My dad was very hurt, and so was I. But one day I got over it when I realized I didn't miss her. That us being separated benefit the relationship. It helped us get along better. Therefore, I decided I never wanted to live with her again. My dad, on the other hand, it's complicated. Another good example happened just a few months ago. She had an idea that affected me and my dad's life. Without asking how we felt about her idea first, she acted upon it. We didn't find out into afterwards and was upset. I call her over the phone and try to explain to her how I would have appreciated it being asked first, spelling out to her that I was very upset. But she didn't care, but just went on and on about how good of any idea it was. She got tunnel vision really bad that day. We have fixed the issue since then, and I have forgiven her. But now you can see why we don't always get along. I'm sorry if I painted my mother to be the villain in these examples. I believe she is a nice person deep down. She is an extrovert too, and has many friends. So, people clearly like her for some reason. So maybe I'm the problem, and not her. According to the document, the reasons why they think she is an alleged incapacitated person is because she is a lazy slob. Apparently, her apartment was a mess, which is nothing new. Growing up, I had a cleaner room than she did. In fact, I had to clean up after her. Apparently, they found her forgetful too, which is also nothing new for her, can talk in loops. It can be annoying. So, I'm not surprised this is happening to her. When I first got the document, I freak out, for I still care about her despite everything. I was ready to be her guardian. So, she won't go to a nursing home. I believe stepping up would be the right thing to do, that I should be there for her like I was for my dad. But now that I have had time to calm down and think about it, I realized I didn't want to be her guardian. At all, we barely get along. I realized I didn't want to be stuck living with her, or having to clean up after her again, or take care of her and manage her money. Knowing how stubborn she can be, I know she will probably throw a fit and fight with me every step of the way. I'm caught between my personal feelings and doing what I believe is the right thing to do. So, it's like, do I really want to go through that and be stuck with her? Why should I have to pay for her choices? What about how I feel or my future? Is it so wrong to think about myself for a change? My dad has already decided not to be her guardian too, which I don't blame him for. We don't have any another family, so it all depends on me. If I don't step up, then who knows what will happen to her. I can't help but feel I'm being self-centered. Right now, I just standing back and seeing how things turn out. I just wanted to make it clear that I'm not refusing to be her guardian out of revenge or hatred. I hold nothing against and believe in forgiveness. So should I be her guardian or let her have the consequences of her actions? AITA? OP is not the AH. She has valid reasons, especially her strained relationship with her mom, to refuse her mother's guardianship. It's not selfish to set boundaries, especially when caregiving would negatively impact your life. Not OP, rather, OP's mom is an AH for her behavior, so I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from LucyB44. AITA for nearly ruining my friendship? I, 15F, am in a group of really close friends. We all get along really well, and I've known some of these girls for nearly 10 years. Before I was in this friendship group, I was in a really toxic one, which they helped me leave. So, yeah, we're all really close. However, there's this girl in our group who we'll call Jane, not real name, who took a weird liking to me. At first it was nice because I had never really had a close friend before, but recently it turned kind of obsessive. I started noticing little things like her copying my outfit choices, or even her saying she was dyeing her hair the color I was planning. I was in a long-term relationship at the time, with a guy we'll call Max, not real name. Max never really paid attention to Jane, and they both kept their distance, and he even went to calling her weird on one of our calls. Skip a few months, and me and Max go through serious problems in our relationship, which I tell my friends including Jane. During these problems, me, Jane, and this other girl all met up together for a day. It was during this meetup that Jane starts saying how Max has been messaging her about our problems and they've been getting quite close, which I found weird as he never really mentioned her or shown any interest in her with me. Later that day, I caught a glance of her phone, and sure enough she had been messaging my boyfriend. To make matters worse, she had a heart next to his name, and they had been sending kisses at the end of each message. Soon after this incident, me and Max break up, and I'm immediately greeted with a message from Jane asking if I would be mad if they started dating. I didn't want to be the buzzkill, so I said, "No, he's all yours." And I later found out that they started dating not even an hour later. I remember how Jane and Max would continuously talk about how they had liked each other for years, but never made a move because they didn't want to hurt me or a guy, we'll name Dan. This guy had been crushing on Jane for years. Me and Dan both didn't believe this, but kept quiet as we didn't want to start anything. A few months after this, both me and Dan have moved on from the incident, and have slowly been getting closer. Jane and Max broke up a few weeks after dating, claiming how they were both just rebounds after coming out of long-lasting relationships. Eventually, people started telling me and Dan that we would make a great couple and stuff like that. Dan and I have been friends for nearly 11 years, and have never thought of each other that way, but our friends kept nagging until we asked each other out from pressure. Things were going great for a few weeks, until lo and behold, Jane comes into the picture. She starts openly flirting with Dan in front of me, going so far as to even stroke his chest before a PE class, and got all defensive whenever I tried to bring it up. I could obviously tell that Dan was still into her, so I called it off, but wasn't too upset about it, as neither of us really saw each other as more than friends. Skip a few weeks, and Jane starts talking about how her and Dan are now dating. She still sometimes slips comments in saying things like, "Oh, he told me last night that he never really liked you. He only dated you to get over me, but then he would see me, and all those emotions would come back up again." As always, I brushed it off. Skip a few months and I start chatting to this guy who we'll call Aaron. Things are going really well as he goes to a different school and only 2 other people in my school know him. I tell my friends we're dating and they all tell me how happy they are for me. Then one day in maths, Jane and I are snapping people on our phones. She's snapping Dan and I'm snapping Aaron. She looks over my shoulder and says how we should so annoy Aaron and make him jealous. I agree and she asks for his Snapchat. Obviously, I'm hesitant at first because of everything she's done with my past boyfriends, but then I realize that she's never actually met Aaron and probably never will. Then she starts snapping him daily, claiming it's just for the streaks, yet telling me when he sends a snap of his bare shoulder. Naturally, I start to get nervous, but then think, she's never met the guy. It's fine. Then she got drunk. She was at a party and drank too much so that she couldn't even walk. My friend was telling me how they had to show her a picture of Aaron to get her up the stairs and how she kept calling him fit and just non-stop talking about him. A few weeks later, I begin drowning in stress and decide to put a pause in the relationships. Aaron told me he understood and that he would wait for me whether I liked it or not. After Jane found out about the breakup, she started talking non-stop about him. She even turned around and said how she had had a small crush on him before we even started dating. Bear in mind, Erin doesn't go to our school, so she could never have met him before. I tell her this, and she turns around and says, "I saw pictures on the walls at a party." I just nodded. A few days later, Erin tells me that she's flirting with him, and I finally snap. Fine. You want all the attention? Maybe you should learn what it feels like. Erin and I get back together, but we decide not to tell people, to see how far Jane will go before talking to me. She starts trying to set me up with her ex, saying how he likes me and how well we would work. I ignore all of these and decide to retaliate back at her. Whenever she talked about Erin, I decided to say how I thought they would be such a cute couple and how they would work so well. I even went so far as to say that I'd put in a good word if she liked. Jane ate this all up, smiling and nodding, as if nothing else mattered, and agreeing for me to say positive things. This keeps going for about a week until one night, all hell breaks loose. Her ex decides to call me whilst being shirtless, so I decide to ask Jane and Erin and make it a double date. Jane just shows mugs of me to everyone, and me and Erin are messaging about how long this should go on for. Eventually, we all had to go, and not even 10 minutes later, Jane's ex messages me saying, "I love you." I call her, and she says she pushed him to say it because he does, and I tell her I don't feel the same. She stops talking and sends me a screenshot followed by, "Is it true?" My heart stopped. Someone found out that me and Erin were dating and told Jane. She hung up the call. I messaged asking if she was okay, but she started yelling, telling me I was a bad friend and how she wanted to end it all. She eventually stopped talking to me and told the friend group what happened. I then got a lot of hate and even someone telling me to kill myself. Maybe I could have gone through with it differently, but this was the only way she would listen. So AITA? OP is not the AH, but was petty. Jane repeatedly sabotaged OP's relationships, showing obsessive and manipulative behavior. OP retaliated immaturely, but Jane's actions were worse. A healthier approach would have been cutting Jane off instead of engaging in revenge. No scores for now. Let's now jump onto the next story from Brilliant-Garlic-883. AITA for refusing to help my sister pay for her kids' medical bills because of what happened when I needed help. My sister, 28F, and I, 26F, aren't super close. And honestly, we've never really been. She's one of those people who's always had her life together. Good job, nice house, all that. Me? Not so much LOL. I've had my ups and downs, and a couple of years ago it got really bad. So 2 years ago I lost my job. Like completely out of the blue. "Hey, thanks for everything. We're shutting down. Good luck." I was obviously screwed. I had no savings because, life is expensive. And I was living paycheck to paycheck like everyone else I know. My rent was due, and I had literally no idea how I was going to pay it. I was freaking out like, can't sleep, crying all night, stomach in knots level, freaking out. So, I swallowed my pride, which was already in the toilet at this point, and called my sister. I asked her if she could lend me 1,000 USD to cover rent. Not give me, lend me. I promised I'd pay her back as soon as I got a new job. I wasn't asking for a handout. I just needed help. She didn't even hesitate. She said no. Straight up. Like, flat, cold, no. And then she gave me this whole speech about how she doesn't believe in lending money to family because it always goes wrong and ruins relationships. She said it wasn't personal, just her policy, and then basically hung up on me while I was sobbing. I was devastated. Like, I get it, no one's obligated to help me, but I'm her sister. I wasn't asking for anything crazy, I just needed help to not end up homeless. Anyway, I figured it out. I sold some borrowed from a couple of friends, and barely scraped by. But that moment, it stuck with me. It changed the way I see her. Like, she made it very clear that I couldn't rely on her when things got tough. I never said anything to her about it after that because what's the point? But I never forgot. Now, fast forward to last week. Her husband got laid off a couple months ago, and I guess they're struggling, but I didn't know the details because we don't really talk. Then out of nowhere, she calls me. She never calls me, so I immediately knew something was up. She was crying like, full-on sobbing, and told me they need 1,500 USD for my niece's medical bills. It's something about a treatment she needs, and apparently, insurance will reimburse them, but they have to pay up front. She said they're completely out of options and begged me to help. And look, I love my niece. She's 3, she's adorable, and obviously, she's done nothing wrong. But I couldn't help but think about that phone call 2 years ago when I was desperate, and she couldn't have cared less. So, I told her, "Sorry, I can't help you." And yeah, I might have been a little petty because I threw her words back at her. I said, "I don't believe in lending money to family because it always goes wrong." She lost her. She started screaming at me about how this is different because it's her child, not just stupid rent, her words, and how I'm a selfish bitch for holding a grudge over something that happened forever ago. She accused me of punishing an innocent kid just to get back at her, which, okay, maybe that's a little true, but also, where was this whole family helps family thing when I was begging her to not let me lose my apartment? And here's the thing, I can afford to help her. I've worked my ass off these past 2 years to get my shit together, and for the first time in forever, I actually have some savings. But why the hell should I? She made it clear that we're not that kind of family. She set the rules, not me. And now that the shoe's on the other foot, I'm supposed to just forget everything and bail her out? I can't. Of course, she immediately ran to my parents, and now they're all over me too. My mom keeps saying, "It's not about her, it's about your niece," and that I'm being heartless. My dad told me I'm acting cold and vindictive. They're both making me feel like absolute garbage, and honestly, maybe they're right. It's not my niece's fault her parents are struggling, but it's not my fault either. And honestly, if I cave now, I know my sister is just going to think she can treat me however she wants, and I'll still come running when she needs me. So, yeah, I feel like shit. But also, I feel like she kind of had this coming. Am I being a total asshole here? Or is it fair to not help her after everything? I can't tell if I'm justified or just being petty.
OP is not the AH. Rather, her sister is an AH for refusing to help OP when she was desperate. And she set the precedent to refuse helping each other in difficult time. While the niece is innocent, OP isn't obligated to bail out someone who denied her the same courtesy. As for scores, I would rate OP 0 and OP's sister 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's not jump onto the next story from long_cell_3734.
Neighbor's dog keeps breaking into our yard and eventually does what I was worried about. I need some advice about an interaction I've had recently with my neighbor. Background on us as neighbors, we've lived next to each other for about 3 years. She was here before we moved in. We've always been friendly with each other, mostly kept to ourselves, and never had an issue until now. We live in a gated community where we all rent, so there's a management office we can go to for issues. A few months ago, their dog, we'll call her Dallas, died suddenly while they were on vacation. Unsure the exact details, but she had to rush back, and Dallas ended up dying of liver failure. This all happened around the August timeframe. We were not the ones taking care of her, and we never had an issue with Dallas. After Dallas died, they got a new puppy pretty quickly afterwards. I'm talking a few days, a week at most. We'll call this new dog Luna. Luna is like every puppy, excitable, has a lot of energy, and likes to jump. Because Luna's skinny, he can squeeze between our fence slats and get into our yard. He's done this pretty frequently, and I've always either gotten him back over the fence or put a leash on him and knocked on their door to return him. I've asked my neighbor to please keep him in their yard, because our dog, we'll call Ghost, is getting older now, and I'm worried about their puppy jumping on his back and injuring him. We also have 4 kids, youngest being 4 years old, and I'm worried that Luna going to come over and try to play with them and knock them over. She said she'd try to keep Luna out and put up some barricades along a small section of our joint fence. Well, that didn't work. He kept getting into our yard. I'd take him back over and ask her to keep him out. I've started taking pictures every time Luna is in our yard, and I'd say I see him in our yard on average twice a week since they got him. Additionally, over Thanksgiving, her kid's father, we'll call Jeff, was in town while she went on vacation, guessing they're divorced or separated, and Luna got into our yard again. I rang the doorbell, Jeff apologized, and said he had no idea that was happening. Obviously she didn't tell him, and that he's going to try and think of something to keep him out of our yard. Well, that never happened. Well, 2 days ago it happened. Kids were outside playing while on winter break. Luna gets in and jumps into our youngest. I want to be clear, he's not being aggressive. Just very playful. But regardless, she's terrified, and Luna blocks her path from getting in the house. He wouldn't leave her alone, and she just froze while he's knocking her about. My wife immediately went and pushed Luna away and got our daughter inside, all the while the owner's son, she wasn't home at the time, is outside and eventually hopped the fence and got Luna back. Our daughter's okay, thankfully, no scratches or bruises, but she was definitely shaken and scared. Yesterday evening I went over there to talk to her about what happened. I first asked if her son had told her what happened yesterday. She said that he did not. So I explained what happened and that Luna jumped on our 4-year-old, that she's okay but was scared, but that they really need to keep Luna in their yard, that I had previously told them of my concerns with our kids and dog, and that I really didn't want to go to our management office with this. Well, this set her off, said I was threatening her, that Luna is kept in the garage for 10 hours a day and is barely outside, that she has to come home after work and clean up his shit and make dinner for her daughter. Then she said, "Oh, by the way, your daughter is bullying my daughter at school." I was taken back by this and asked how she was being bullied because I do take that very seriously. She didn't answer and just ranted on about how their dad only visits once a year and she's doing the best she can. I said I totally understand that, and I wasn't threatening her, and reiterated that I don't want to go to management. I just need her dog to stay in her yard. She said, "Fine, I'll keep him in the garage all day then," and that she doesn't have time for this, and slammed the door in my face.
Now I understand her feeling threatened by me bringing up management. However, I don't really know what to do. I really don't want to go to management, but I also have been dealing with this for months now, and nothing's been done about it. And what I was very worried about happening, my kids getting hurt, happened. Am I an ass for handling it the way I did? How do I resolve this? I don't want there to be any bad blood between us as neighbors, but I also want their dog to stop being my damn problem. I've thought about going back over in a day or two, maybe with a small gift as a peace offering, and asking about the bullying. If my daughter is bullying, I want to know so I can put a stop to it. I was bullied growing up, so I want to make sure my kids are not being the bully. And then trying to bring up the dog and see if there's a solution. However, I feel like that's only something that happens in movies. What do you guys think? TLDR. Neighbor's dog broke into our yard, knocked out 4-year-old around. When confronted, neighbor gets very upset and accused me of threatening her. OP is not the AH. He repeatedly addressed the issue calmly, documented incidents, and tried to resolve it without escalating. However, the neighbor ignored concerns, failed to control Luna, and deflected responsibility. OP's priority is his family's safety, which is reasonable. So, instead of OP's neighbor is an AH, and I would rate him 3 out of 5 on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button. Share them as much as you can. And don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.